didn't want to put on
Oh,
it.
we're live. So it's Sam and Rose. It's the weekly BetaSaaSers meeting. I think Richard and Stacey said they both might not make it. Armando should be around later on. We're just chatting about bits and pieces. I guess we just wanted. I mean, Rose has some like little minor technical issues. On my side, I guess the key things are we've got a meeting planned for like 10 days from now to talk about with the Berkeley folks about changes that we need to make for accessibility before the MOOCs can go into their self-paced run next year. So that's on tenterhooks about like how much will they ask, how much work will there be, that we need to do. I haven't got started on the Spox. I guess people will probably sensibly not wait for the outcome of that before having Spox. Probably what Spox want the earlier thing. I guess I need to. Oh God, what is it? I need to do this script. I'm just terrible at the moment for carving out time. Particularly as Agile Ventures gets more busy, and I'm actually. So there's that to do. I did manage to get into the MOOC today and do emailings to say, it's like now that this is the last day for people can upgrade certificates. It's 3 days until the course actually kind of finally finishes and the certificates are run. So that's about the size of that. But so Rose had a question about Agile Ventures and about the uploading of videos. So just out of interest, what's the name of the project for the students?
It's the community. Community.
Binghamton Community Service.
Community Service. That's it.
Yeah. So we do have these tabs for videos on all the things. Yeah. The way that it works is if you do a hangout, like if you start a live hangout,
it is. There's the button. Okay.
There's a button to start live hangout. I mean, if you need to join the project and then it will turn into the start a Google on air button.
Right.
Like if I just click this now, it will just say you need to join it. I mean, I don't join it. Then once you're joined, you get this start a hangout on air, and so then you do the hangout. Then you have to press the start broadcast button, which you'll only see if your YouTube account is hooked up correctly, and then in principle that video will be pulled in there. And so if we look at, I know the MetPlus people are having some problems with that, but if we look at the videos here,
I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is that they made a separate video and they were trying to insert it in there, and that's made really just to seamlessly list the hangouts that they did.
I mean, we have problems there with people. I don't know, like the video being unavailable for whatever reason, which is causing other problems. I mean, what we don't have at the moment is that would be a separate feature to like allow a person to. I mean, although in principle, if the person's in the project, actually, I don't know how it works under the hood. Like because what do we do? I don't know if we have what mechanism we have that detects. Because if we go to any individual user. We can see like here, it's got the all the videos of all the stuff that I've been involved in, and actually this is, if I click on this now, this will give us a live stream of ourselves talking to each other. My goodness. Yay! A bit meta, but I don't know how it works out. Is it displaying all of my public videos, or is it only displaying ones that I have somehow started through? I guess it's only displays ones that I have started if I think about it. I mean, I could look at it more. So, I mean, would that be a useful feature then for the students to be able to upload videos and
It might be. I mean, I just told them upload it to the documents section. And that I saw it as more of a usage problem than an actual Agile Ventures problem. The problem that I was more concerned with is if you look at their activity, it doesn't say it's 0, and somehow it's not hooking into Pivotal Tracker, and yet the other projects are.
Okay.
And that I thought was odd.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, one is that I think, have they got a private project?
I don't believe so.
No, so either they've got the URL wrong or it's private. And if it's private, we can't read it.
Sure, sure. I wonder if I mean, they weren't supposed to set it private. Of course, that doesn't mean anything.
I mean, can you open this link? Like, if you I mean, I put the link in the group chat.
Yeah.
If you click on it, does it open for you?
Well, I mean, I've opened it many times. I mean, we opened it last night.
Oh, right.
On my
maybe the number's wrong. Like, click on this link here. Like, I mean, I imagine that you've got like a shortcut to it. You're not necessarily going to it through the link that's on this particular page.
No, I went to the page and I went to the link. Oh, yeah, let me just get there.
Just click on that one. It's 1880189.
Oh, 18. I don't know where you're looking.
Well, so there's a chat feature in the Hangout. So if you go to the Hangout window, and
no, here it is. It was slow in popping up. I'm looking at it and it just popped up.
Okay.
Now I see what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I will just try to pop this up. Let's go. I just got another Hangout. Whoa, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right link?
I could put the link in Slack for you if you want.
Okay, now I see. This is weird. Okay, so yeah, that's odd. That's really odd.
But so if you open that link.
Hi, Armando.
Hello.
Hello, Armando. How are you doing?
My camera.
Happy Friday.
Take your time, Armando. I'm just trying to address this one issue for Rose. But so Rose, if you go to, I just want to, like, for sanity there, you can open that link and it takes you to a Pivotal Tracker instance?
Well, I just like hard-coded the URL and I couldn't get there. And yet I got there last night. So that's just bizarre. It's like, how is that possible?
Okay. Well, it seems like there's maybe some difference between, I mean, what we don't know is whether the URL you went to last night and this URL are the same.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to try clicking on it again. Okay. Geez, I should share my screen. I went straight to it. I went to Agile Ventures. I went to the
look, Binghamton Community Service.
And clicked on the link, and here I am.
Okay. But
very odd.
So if you share this, when you say here I am, if you share your screen, you've actually gone into the Pivotal Tracker instance and you can see the contents.
You got it. Yeah. Hold on, I'm just trying to get my. I'm sorry, I'm being a little slow.
No, take your time. Take your time. Anyway, when you're ready, share that and we can look at whether it's private or not. Richard is here. Hello, Richard.
Okay.
How are you doing, Richard?
Hi.
You are muted. I can see Rose there.
Yeah.
So if you can click on settings.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah. Okay. Come on.
General settings. Scroll down. I sort of assume that the privacy thing will be in there, but I'm not sure.
Oh, wait a minute. This should be checked. Public access.
There you go.
That's interesting because I think we all assumed that it was public by default and you had to make it private. It looks like it's actually the opposite.
So you want to click the green save button there.
Right. Okay, here we go. So now maybe this will.
Well, I will now reload here, and I think I can now see it. I can see it on my side, and possibly I don't know how long it will take for the activity to show in our. Actually, now the activity is now visible.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
I do love
great. That was wow. Yeah, easy fix. Thank you.
But that's also interesting that this is the first time that I've ever heard anyone talking about using this activity view. Is this activity? Is this something that you use with the students look at, and you're appreciative of it being there? You find it handy? Yeah,
it's handy, and I think the other thing is I think it's motivating when the students can see this and that their work is visible publicly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the thing I had, because we've had various issues with this, and that we'd like to like support other trackers besides Pivotal Tracker. My concern with it is that it is part of the public interface of the individual project. My concern is that these things being in these tabs is not very visible, and that I kind of worry that not many people will browse to it and find it, and that us putting a lot of work into it, if it's not exposed so well, is kind of we're going to pull this work into it. And I sort of kind of would think let's have it, make it a bit more visible. As this whole thing we're doing with Project Scope, which that's a nicer interface there. We'll see if I can that takes to load. If you had kind of up front and center more, what's the word? Telemetry on the projects, and that it was actually we were doing a better job of sorting all of these things, then that would be all much more useful. But so go on.
Can I ask a question now? When students sign up to Agile Ventures, they get some information at the beginning about Slack and about suggestions to populate the profile and things like that. But I can't really find anywhere that discusses like overall how to approach their project page, that populate this, populate that, how the video tab works, which is why so many of them, instead of using the feature that's there and that's so wonderful, which is you just click and there's a hangout and then it's automatically put there.
Right.
That instead they set it up separately and then they try to post it afterwards. And as I said, this is a usage error. It's
Well, and that's a good question. And I think actually we really don't have help documentation on that. If it said, even if it just said here, like, oh, hey, by the way, if you start Hangouts, they'll appear here. That's a really interesting point there. We are working the documentation on how to join and start projects, which might be relevant. But yeah, I'll try and write up a blog for that. We've got a lot of other people have arrived. Let us. I think we've got Armando's all set up. Richard is here. Greetings, and Michael is here as well. Hello, Michael.
Hi.
Hey.
I guess Adrian had to go off. Did he?
We finished up that pull request. It was real easy.
Excellent. Did you wrap it in a test?
Yeah. So I kind of. What I did was I had him check out the branch that's pending.
Okay.
And we just went from that and pull in our new pull request after you pull that one.
Yeah. We're getting kind of an echo from somewhere. I wonder if I was suiting for. I'm just going to mute Rose for a moment. But anyway, Rose and I had just sort of synced. Richard, Armando, have you items for our agenda that we should address?
Well, I guess one or the other of us, Sam, should talk about this new experiment that we're trying with premium nonprofit app maintenance mode, whatever.
Sure.
I just sort of finished grading CS 169, so I can talk a little bit about how that's gone and tools that we're building to make it better.
Right.
But that's kind of depending on how much people want to hear. Other than that, no.
Okay, that's great. Two things. I'll just pop those in here to a premium nonprofit, and when we've got CS 169 grading. Richard, how about yourself? How are things going?
The only thing that comes to mind is that I've been talking with my TAs for next semester about trying to force students to use the debugger and debugging tools and environment. And we've been kicking around some ideas about throwing in some steps into the chapter 4 walkthrough that we assign that sort of will force them to use the debugger, maybe ask some questions or so forth that they can only answer by doing some steps in the debugger. My question for this group would be, how could I put that in the chapter 4 walkthrough? Like if I could make my own version of it, right? And I could add things to it, that would be one way. But how do I do it? Because already they're referencing their Cloud9, the Kindle document, and yet one more thing. So that's why logistically, I just don't know how to pull that together. So, and if you have any ideas,
sure.
Yeah, I have an idea about it because there's, I think we're all going to be in situations where we want to create additional walkthroughs or assignments or whatever that may be of use to some of us, but not all of us. And I'll talk about a couple that our students have asked us to do, and I have no idea if y'all are interested in them. But I think, at some point, Sam and I have to sit down. We're actually trying to figure out how to move as much as possible, move the detailed walkthrough hands-on stuff out of the book and into something else, whether that's GitHub or edX or whatever. But I think the best approach is probably to make sure that each one of those walkthrough type things essentially can be standalone. So, if there's sort of a standalone exercise around using the debugger, which, by the way, standalone doesn't mean that it can't, be connected to or depend on other things that we've already built, but standalone in the sense that modifying the book text is not in the critical path of deploying it. So, it could be something like one of the auto-graded homeworks, like we are now using GitHub to maintain, which I think on balance is working pretty well. It could be like a module or something in the Spock, because modules, assuming you can extract them, can be made relatively standalone. So I guess that'd be my advice.
But this particular, if we're working into another assignment, we could certainly add that. But the chapter 4 walkthrough, which is really equivalent to the text chapter, that's what I see as problematic.
Mm-hmm.
I think the right thing to do longer term is to essentially try to pull the walkthrough aspect out of the chapter somehow, and have the walkthrough exist only as an online supplementary thing.
Right.
So, if initially what that means is creating a new online thing that starts out essentially being the walkthrough that's pulled out of the chapter, and then, there's enhancements that are made to that to add, a unit on debugger use or whatever else, I think that'd be fine. I would like to get stuff out of the chapter. So if this is an excuse to start the process of doing that, then I'm all for it.
And I may be able to bring especially TA resources to bear in the next even few weeks. Like I've sort of told them, like they can charge time that they're not supposed to be working in and like deferred into the future. So there a couple of guys that I have now may be up for doing that kind of thing.
Cool.
Good stuff.
So,
Yes.
Keith, so I guess we can communicate on the mailing list and figure out like any logistics, because we need some source to be able to deal with and guidelines to talk about.
Well, I think what we've got is the instructor community resources, and we've got, like Rose has previously done some chapter 4 walkthrough doc.
Yeah, you see, but the issue, just philosophically, what I'm averse to doing is pulling out just the steps, because then the students are just following the steps, and what I see is keying it in with the text of the chapter, which is all the explanatory stuff, and I really am resistant to just pulling out the steps, because otherwise
although I wasn't suggesting pulling out the steps per se, as just having the thing in a markdown. Ultimately what I really want to achieve is get it into a markdown format where we can easily have those kind of pop-up questions that we've got in other places that we've got populated through the homeworks and so on. At least that would be my first pass on it. There may be other things. I think you're not going to get everything that you want into the Kindle in short term, and if it's moving out, then let's focus on creating at least a draft of the thing that you will want in the form that you want, and then work from there.
Right, but I can't take without someone's blessing, I can't take like the text of the chapter for a walkthrough to start playing with it. So that's what we have to agree on. What's like copacetic.
Armando has blessed you, so
you've got my blessing.
Okay, so and then I can work with you guys and sort of get a source to start with and play around with. That's fine.
Yeah,
sure.
And I guess that's interesting to hear there, Richard. That you kind of want to make sure that you maintain both the explanatory stuff and the steps. Yes. Okay, fair enough. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I almost think that what might make the most sense is if you and your TAs are able to extract the walkthrough and sort of try to turn it into something that stands more on its own. Once that's done, I can essentially try to go back to the chapter text with Sam, and we can try to write explanatory text around it, but it is not so tightly bound to it that any minor change in the walkthrough invalidates the text.
Right. We could have.
That's what I'd really like to get to is to have the text in the book not be so dependent on the examples that minor changes to code end up requiring publishing changes.
Well, and it would be a bit like the model that we have with the edX, where now the homeworks are out in GitHub. They can change slightly, and the flow of the course is not. We don't have to edit edX in order to. Yeah. No, I like that. Good stuff.
Cool.
I guess so we've got two other items there from Armando from before. I was just going to give I gave a little summary before to Rose, and Rose's my vocabulary module has crashed. I don't know. Apologies to Rose for repeating, but yeah. So the key things for me are that today is the last day for the MOOC students to upgrade certificates if they want them for part 2, and the actual MOOC course finishes in 3 days. So I've sent out a mailing about that, and I guess we'll be rolling certificates at the end of next week. Armando and I and Suzanne from Berkeley will be meeting to talk about what accessibility issues need to be addressed before the next run of the MOOC, and we will be excited to find out just how much work is needed. Hopefully it won't be so much work that we can't get it done, before the end of January, because I'm really hoping we can get the new self-paced version of the courses out by the end of January. There's a lot of students saying, yes, when's part 3 going to come? When are we going to have the courses run again?
Yeah, I can comment on that, because I actually I was in a meeting yesterday at high levels of campus regarding this whole DOJ accessibility thing. So I think the short answer is this course is considered pretty strategic. So we're going to be high on the list for spending resources to do the remediation.
Right.
I don't think the amount of remediation is huge, because most of the captioning we're in good shape. The whole thing about you have to provide
images,
verbal explanations for diagrams and stuff. They believe that that's going to get negotiated away.
Okay.
The campus council is telling us that we probably don't need to proactively, go after all those things. One issue on the table that we spent a lot of the meeting talking about is, the way that the legalese is written now implies that if you link to an external resource for your course, even if it's an optional one, that resource has to be accessible as well.
All right.
Which is ridiculous, because that's roughly what that means is you can never link to an external resource.
Right.
So we're working on that. I think a likely outcome of that piece is there's going to be some process of vetting where when you have outside resources, you send a nice email to whoever owns the resource and say, hey, would you be willing to make this resource accessible? Or if the resource is a PDF, would you be willing to give us the underlying text or HTML so that we can make it accessible? And if they say yes, then we do that. And if they say no, then we say, hey, we tried. So the council's opinion is that we probably will be able to fight for something like that, because the truth is, I don't know any instructor who doesn't make liberal use of outside resources for their course. And this would basically shut down course production. So that's a preview of where things are. And, we don't have a ton of resources to do this kind of stuff at Berkeley, but I think this course is going to be one of the highest on the list for getting it done, because it's long running, it's popular, it generates some revenue. We're talking about doing some sort of a MicroMasters program at Berkeley, and if we did, this course would almost certainly be part of it. So they're invested in keeping this course in good shape. So that's a preview.
Well, that's good to know. The link on thing to where it affects the Spock folks. So I think Rose and Richard and Stacey and others want their Spocks. Is I sort of assume that you would rather have your Spocks sooner based on the current versions and not wait for the outcome of this thing and the subsequent changes. Is that right, Richard and Rose?
Well, my stuff starts around the 8th or 9th of January.
Okay. Right.
And I could probably delay it a few days after that, but I wouldn't want to wait till the end of January.
No, sure.
And by the way, just as a reminder, this only affects the version of the course that is open to the public. There's no requirement or action is necessary for courses that are limited to a particular cohort or faculty member. So, if you guys want to keep using the version we have with no changes, that's fine. This only affects the MOOCs.
And certainly that's the way to get the MOOC the fastest. And I think I'm not having trouble getting myself to it because I write this script, and I think everybody wants merged versions. But yeah, I'll commit to doing it before Christmas. So I think particularly if you're starting January 8th, then
that's way earlier than what I need. So
I want to make a nice Christmas present of it to the Spock instructors. Good stuff. And Rose, does that follow for you as well? Sorry, I was muting you there because I think we were getting a little echo from you. Rose is still muted and maybe away from keyboard. I guess we'll leave that there for the moment. So I guess let's the two.
Yeah,
go on, Rose.
You keep on muting me. I don't believe I have an echo here.
I believe otherwise. I guess you know.
I don't hear it.
Agree. There's not at the moment. There was when Armando was speaking. The Google thing was flipping back to Rose's screen because it was auto detecting the echo there. But anyway, sorry, Rose. Tell me about your preference for Spox and accessibility, or waiting for a new, more accessible version, or happy with the current version.
Well, in New York, it's a big issue.
Right.
I wondered what Armando was saying about the council saying that he thinks it will go away. Is it that it will go away in a federal sense, or it will go away in California?
Well, I mean, so we're in a kind of a special situation for a couple of reasons. First of all, even before this happened, Berkeley had been in discussions with DOJ sort of proactively because of the fact that Harvard and MIT got sued, which you guys all know about that, right? Mm-hmm. That like a year or two ago, MIT and Harvard were sued on the same grounds, basically.
I didn't know that.
Or maybe you didn't know that. And so that lawsuit is in progress, but they're fighting it. Harvard and MIT's position is actually that they're not at fault. The suit against Berkeley is specific because we're a public university. We get Title II funds to produce things. So the requirements on us are different than what they would be for a private university. But in terms of what going away means, is that probably the outcome of this will be some relatively precedent-setting thing in case plaintiffs go after other public universities that have produced MOOCs. The outcome of this case is probably going to set the pattern for what happens. So, right. You know, whatever we're available to, whatever we can negotiate with DOJ in terms of what constitutes a reasonable concession to making things accessible, I think people recognize that if you take the DOJ ruling to an absurd extreme, the result will be that it shuts down the production of freely available public courses. So the purpose of the so-called negotiation process is to figure out what that medium is, and you know what in the future what other public universities can expect to happen when they put courses up. So you know, I think a lot of people will be keeping an eye on it. I think frankly at Berkeley we were really disappointed because we had been in discussions already with the DOJ before any action was taken, and the goal of those discussions was to forestall something like this happening. And then all of a sudden we got a letter one day saying, oh, by the way, somebody is now bringing suit against you for this. So, you know, there was sort of an opportunity for them to have a constructive dialogue with us about this. And instead, for reasons we don't really understand, they sort of turned on us and are now putting us in this defensive position. So,
right. And then I think what you were saying there, Armando, is it sounded like by going away, it's like not that it would go away completely. That, for example, some of the more stringent requirements, such as, you know, every image has to have a text.
Right. Right. I think what will happen is some precedent will be set about what constitutes reasonable accommodation.
Right. There'll be some sort of compromise position that will still require some work on one side and some concession on the other. And then, as I say, that will be the precedent that will, you know, affect federally. So, like Rose is saying, that SUNY is public as well. So, does that make sense, Rose?
I hope that helps.
Yeah, it's a huge problem at my university. We're getting absolutely hammered with this, and basically we're being told that we have to a ridiculous degree, scour all of our course material. It's making it very difficult. I'm sorry?
Are you talking about your internal courses for your students, or are you talking about course materials that you make public?
I'm talking about everything.
Okay, see, because on campus, we the way it works for our students is we actually have a disabilities office, and it's in some sense it's their responsibility to, you know, if I produce lecture materials that are not accessible, and for example there's a student with a visual impairment, we have an office whose job it is to help that student get the accommodation they need. And you know, if that means paying someone to take notes for them or transcribe or whatever, and then often the product of what they do gets put back into the course. So that's why, you know, for us on campus, this is not really an issue because we already have a way to deal with this. But what it's going to do is chill the creation of publicly available courseware. So,
well, we have an office that does this also.
I had a question
that takes care of like really extenuating circumstances. But as faculty, we are required to make sure that all of our material is in a certain format. If we make links to other sites. We have to clear it through them. It's kind of very time consuming.
So Armando, how does this affect in terms of just, you said publicly accessible? What if it's not presented as like a course to the public? Like a lot of universities, like if you just search on the internet for,
if Berkeley's name is on it, it's a course.
That faces the public, but it's clearly not meant for the public.
Yeah, no, they thought of that.
And so
if it's got Berkeley's name on it, and there are materials that could be construed as instructional, then it's under this umbrella. Yeah, it's quite broad.
And so, like Armando, you've got like a Google Sites thing that you use internally for your CS169 course. So that would also fall under this then.
No, because the Google Sites thing, because it only contains information useful to my own students at Berkeley, if my students had an issue with the site, I'd probably get some email saying, hey, you should really make it accessible. But at the end of the day, the student with disabilities office would figure something out, right? It's sort of, I mean, I'm encouraged to try to do the right thing, but at the end of the day, I'm not the one ultimately responsible, right? There's other mechanisms for this.
Okay, but you're saying like if it has the Berkeley, I thought it was if it has the Berkeley name on it, then it would still be considered a public-facing course.
Well, there is some discussion about things like, is this going to lead to, my personal homepage at the university that lists my research? Is that now going to have to be accessible? And if so, whose job is it?
Right.
But for the moment, even though the homepage for the course happens to be public facing, there aren't really, I mean, if you look at the course website, there aren't really any instructional materials on it. It's all sort of administrative information about the course and things like that.
Yeah.
There's no lecture slides. There's no homework assignments. Now, having said that, there are a number of courses at Berkeley which have no MOOC associated with them that happen to have publicly facing websites. The websites are only intended for consumption by Berkeley students, but there's no authentication on them. Anybody can, they're open course materials, sort of de facto. They're just not, they're not promoted as such. So,
Sure.
Maybe Michael, maybe that's the kind of gray area that you're talking about, where technically I created it for my course, but I've chosen to leave it publicly accessible. I think the answer is nobody knows what happens with those.
Right.
I think that's kind of insane, because like,
it's completely.
You can make the argument that for whatever policy position, it makes sense if you're inviting people in the public to come take part in a course, right? But just because some random person came into your page from Google.
Yeah, no, you're preaching to the choir. Nobody at Berkeley thinks this is a good thing.
Right, yeah. But of course, the US is not the bastion of sanity in the world at the moment. So, Janet, apologies for that little dig there. Janet is here. Janet, how are you doing? You all right?
Hi, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Good stuff. Yeah, we've just been going through, as you were hearing, some stuff related to updates we've got to make to the accessibility for the MOOC and so on. Did you have any agenda items? Anything particularly important that you wanted to share, or any problems you're addressing?
No, as I said, I'm not teaching this block, so I'm pretty much just popping in to see what everybody else is up to.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. Well, it's great to have you with us. We had two other agenda items which we could maybe just nip through quickly. One of which was this new initiative Armando and I are working on, which is for premium nonprofit support. Armando, did you want to talk to that, or should I talk to that? And you'll talk about.
Yeah, I can do a very quick version. I think a lot of us have this issue of, you have a happy customer, and now the course is over and the students are moving on. And how does the customer keep the lights on for the app, even if all they want to do is just use it? They have no one technical on staff who can keep the lights on. So I proposed to Sam this idea that this might be something that budding DevOps people who join Agile Ventures might be able to do. It would be a source of revenue because they could set up a plan that doesn't cost much for nonprofits and gives them sort of a very basic, we're keeping the lights on, and we'll occasionally do a Heroku PS restart if something gets wedged. If Heroku sends an email saying that you have outgrown the free tier, they'll sort of translate into English for the customer what they have to do. It doesn't include making changes to the app. It doesn't include any technical support beyond kind of rebooting things when necessary. But it is a person who speaks the language and who's available for the customer to talk to if they have a question. So we nominally said, I think we set a price of like £20 or 20 euros and $25, or £20 or $25 a month.
Yeah.
And you sort of get that includes like initial setup and contact plus kind of one incident per month in the customer support sense. So we'll see how it works out, but I'm trying to find more ways to increase the symbiosis between Agile Ventures and certainly what we're doing. And this seems like it might be an interesting opportunity. If it kills a couple of birds with one stone and provides an additional revenue stream for AV, then maybe everybody wins. So we'll see what happens. We just are sending out the customer emails this week, telling our customers about this new option.
Right. Yeah, good summary, Armando. Yeah, so I've made a landing page on Agile Ventures, which is just here, which has sort of a summary, and then we've got these different plans in there, and we're working. I'm getting quite a echo there. Which
I think it's from Janet.
Ah, no, it's actually from Janet.
Go on.
Apologies to Rose for muting her there, which was bad of me. Sorry. Anyway, so we've got the elements in there, and we're working on creating the payment endpoints for that I hope to get up within another week or so. But yeah, so that's that. I guess. I mean, I don't know. It was Christian who used to do projects with external links. I don't know that Rose. Maybe you don't do projects with external customers, or do you? And of course, I not nastily muted her, and so now it takes her time.
Sam, I had an idea. If you end up getting some of these charities for clients,
yes,
could they be potential clients for development?
Indeed, they could. I mean, that's one imagines that
take that on, or
that we would be servicing their app, and then they may say, oh, well, we need this additional feature, and we would say, well, that's possible in principle, but that's beyond the package that you have. And what I've done here with the model here is I put superficially that they could, that if they were upgraded to the enterprise thing, that would include new feature development. Or I mean, this, Mono was making the point that maybe it should be monthly rather than yearly rather than monthly, or what have you. It's a bit of it's a stab in the dark. We'll see, but certainly having ongoing conversations with multiple non-profits, would be very beneficial, I think, for Agile Ventures. So yeah, so Rose is now unmuted. Yeah, Rose, your students, I mean, you've actually got a number of students doing projects, which even before Armando had brought in Redeemify and Project Scope, we were just looking at the beginning of the session today, weren't we, that about your students using the Agile Ventures interface and putting their projects on there. Your projects, though, I mean, this Binghamton Community Service, is there an external customer for that?
No, although there certainly could be.
Right.
Some semesters previously, we've had one or two projects that had actual external clients. For the most part, the client is either the other students or an imaginary client.
Right.
It would be nice to have a continuous feed of actual clients for so many reasons, but at this point we don't.
Yeah.
Although it's interesting, this project this semester could potentially, if we made it live, could lead to more live customers, so to speak.
Cool.
Well, one of the things that we're doing is we're wrapping up final grading for CS 169, which was basically a 12-hour marathon to figure out final grades for 170 students.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a marathon. But part of that is there's a part of the grade that's easy to compute, which is exams and homeworks and so on. And the part about the project, as you know, is much harder to compute. And for us, it's a combination of the TAs have weekly meetings where they take notes. The students have this design review that they do. They have oral presentations. They have a poster. They have a preview. They have a screencast. They have feedback from the customer for every single iteration, and they get feedback from all of their peers from every iteration on sort of how solid a team contributor they were. So we are building some automation to help. Right now, we have sort of the Google spreadsheet from hell with 10 tabs and cross references to 5 other spreadsheets that does all this. But we're building an app for it. But we also are sort of we have sort of this internal document on how to, as an instructor or a TA, how to run the project part of the course. And we're going to try to clean that up and make it useful for external consumption, because I think we now have enough of a sort of cookbook for doing this that other people who want to do projects and, how did we find customers? How do we track them? What are the, surveys that we send the customer at the end of each iteration, how do we count that in for the grading? I think we now have enough of a system for this that we thought other people might be interested in reading how we do it if they want to give it a try. So I'm not sure in what format we're going to try to, collate and distribute that, but it's something we want to do. And if it leads to more people being able to get real clients and do projects, especially now that hopefully, fingers crossed, this mechanism with Agile Ventures will work out so that customers actually have a smooth transition. In fact, I would love it if there's customers who actually don't mind having their projects sort of be handed off from Berkeley to Agile Ventures to North Carolina to, like, if we end up having teams of students all over the world sort of pass the project around, it would warm the cockles of my heart that so many people were contributing to doing good things. So that's the direction we're trying to go, and we're hopefully in the next week or so we'll try to do some collation of this how to run a project thing. The other thing we're going to do together with that is we're collating all of the advice that we give student teams on how to be a good software team. And we some of it is in slides right now, some of it is in screencasts. We're going to try to put all of that together as well in something that is book-like, which is like the project success cookbook for students, or the 7 habits of highly successful projects, or something like that, right?
Right.
Something that is a very short distillation of all of the advice, good and bad, that not just we have given to the students, but that former generations of students have passed on to their future students, saying, if we were taking the course again, this is what we do differently. So we're putting all that together in the next couple of weeks.
We have actually a similar effort underway in Agile Ventures, partly because of me appearing on this Ruby Rogues podcast. We've actually had quite a big influx of people and even a few projects. So there's the Wikipedia folks. They have an EDU kind of like side branchy something or other, and they heard about Agile Ventures on the podcast. And so there's a thing called the Wiki EDU dashboard, which is used by apparently instructors and students around the world when they, if the instructors want to set an assignment to do some Wikipedia editing. So this is like Wiki EDU, and so they're a non-profit, like basically the sort of educational arm of Wikipedia. And they heard about, okay, Agile Ventures support non-profits supporting open source, all this, and they were like, yes, open source, non-profits, wow. So they've set up their projects here, and it's a Rails app with React on the front end. And Sage Ross is a guy, he's based in Seattle, and he's got like an intern from India and some other stuff. There's like, there's 14 staff that they've got supporting these thousands of students every semester. And so they've come in, and that's like kind of big coup for us to have, such an important project say that they want to be, have Agile Ventures help and support.
Yeah,
so yeah,
blog about that.
Yeah,
you guys laughed when I talked about world domination, but it's happening. It's just you got to go one step at a time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's partly because we've got these new people coming in. I've been generating these things like related to what Amanda's been saying there about, if you're up for starting a new project, here are some of the things that you need to think about, particularly doing it in Agile Ventures and doing, so Amanda's one focused obviously on sort of like a course with students are there face to face, and we have sort of starting to develop similar documents here about, if you're running a project, what you have to do in terms of scrums and developments, particularly dealing with this, lots of volunteers coming in and out and turnover of folks. So yes, world domination, if eventually, sometime, in a very nice and positive way that's helping and supporting and, learning.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so yeah, good stuff. Yes. So I think that's that's that item. Yeah, well done, Armando, for getting to the end of your mammoth course thing. Everybody else, Richard, you finished. Does everybody else finish grading? Richard and Rose, are you still?
I have a final exam next week, and then I do my my documentary showing of the Code Rush video. And my friend who was at Google is now like some VP of development at Amazon. He got recruited by them. Hey, is there a big Amazon development facility in the Bay Area, Armando?
I don't know about a big one. They have like a little kind of skunkworks lab here,
Okay.
A to Z development, I think, but it's quite small. I mean, it's literally.
Yeah,
it's
I'll find out more, because he was like, "Oh, can I recruit you to come out to the West Coast?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Anyway, so I was assuming he's still in the Bay Area, But
well, I mean, if it was Amazon, the West Coast does include Seattle. I mean, are you sure?
I know, but I think if my sense is that if he would have moved to Seattle, there would have been more. I would have heard about that, and I don't think he has. So I'm assuming he's still in the Bay Area working for them. It's just been there about a month or so. But I'll find out. Yep.
Good stuff. Okay. So does anybody else have any other agenda items or questions or concerns that we should address as a group?
I don't know, as a group, I still have this issue with the students who can't seem to deploy to Heroku.
Okay. Yeah. Did you get access to their code? You wouldn't. I see you're in an IDE instance there.
Yeah, I think I see a problem. And I'm hoping that this is all it is. They actually got a message, and I think they ignored it.
That's never happened before, has it? Students seeing error messages and then they haven't read the error message. I wonder why. I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. We all are. Yeah, I'm going to need to step away myself. I'll be back in like 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Okay. Do you have time for one quick question, Sam?
Can I step away first for like 30 seconds
okay,
and then come back? Yeah, and then we'll have more questions.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Not a big deal. So I guess we're done.
So this is your last week, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit anticlimactic now because my last class was last Thursday, and my classes only meet on Thursday, and our last day of classes was Wednesday, so I didn't have a meeting this week, and my final exam is next Thursday, so there's this 2-week hiatus.
Okay.
And I'm working on my other class. I'm just do what I always say every year, like I'm going to get everything ready, so when I have the final exam, I just plug that in, and I'm ready to assign grades. I always say that. That's never happened yet.
Same here. I had a day of final demos yesterday for both of my classes, the early ones, and then next week we have finals and the rest of the demos.
Well, the reason I have a hope is that the weather has turned chilly down here, which is I'm a northerner, so I know I can't complain, but it's like going to be in the 40s this week and this weekend, goodness. Which means that I probably will go out and play tennis, but it may not be as much tennis, so I may get work done.
We've got 6 inches of snow.
Yeah, and I'm planning a trip after Christmas. I'm planning to drive up to New Hampshire. And make a bunch of stops all along the way, and so we'll see what happens with the weather. I'll be with you. Sam, like if I start working on something with Chapter 4, do you have a recommendation like what my starting point should be?
Well, that's a good question.
Right, and I was like, when I was bringing it up with Armando there, I was like, I wanted to research and stuff, but I'm just, I was going to send out an email, but his stuff is like under lock and key. I can't really access.
What's under lock and key? Sorry, I'm back.
Well, like, if I want to start fooling around and like sort of making edits or additions to Chapter 4, what would you suggest I start with as a source of that?
I mean, we can give you access to the source code of the book, which is all LaTeX. Okay. But I do keep a fairly tight stranglehold on what gets between the covers. Right. That having been said, if the initial main goal is to sort of pull out the walkthrough and enhance it, if you think the easiest way for you to do that would be to start from the text of the textbook, I will happily make it available to you.
Okay, so and I will let you know if that's the case, because we have other mechanisms. We can go into a PDF and make annotations. There's a bunch of things we can do. Let me confer with my TAs and I'll let you know if we want.
I was just going to say, I think in principle, you do have actually view access to it already, Richard. I think if we go into SaaS book and we actually look at the SaaS book.
Okay.
I'm not sure he does, actually. I think there's relatively few people who have access on the book repo.
Sure. I might be wrong. I thought we had set it up so that like 2 or 3 members of the BetaSaaSer group could see the issues board on here. I think they maybe have read-only access.
Well, I mean, you're an admin on the repo, so you may well have set it up that way. For all I know, you set up the, the Chinese Politburo has access to it. Nobody knows.
Well, I mean, I just want to say, to all of the spy agencies, the NSA, thank you for protecting our freedom, for all the people. But so, yeah, I think we have here, and I think we did talk to you about it when we did it, Armando, but here we've got this gold BetaSaaSers team with only 5 members. It was like the core members who've been with us, for like 2 or 3 years have read access on this repo. So I think that you can, in principle, see. I mean, it's
which is the is it the one with the 169 in it?
No,
yep, I think I'm looking at it myself. Okay, yeah.
This is the link here, because we had a period when we were
up 169. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it in the description there. But so it's there in LaTeX, and in principle, you could be building it from this.
Right.
I mean, I think you had, and you can build the PDF. I mean, although what I would, at least for me personally, if I was doing what I'm imagining you're describing to do, is I would do what I did here, which is, you can see here, this is now in the instructor community resources thing. This is also another private repo. But so I was taking here just like a copy and paste from the Kindle and pasting it into here and then reformatting it for like the difficulty that I would have is that in the raw LaTeX code or in the PDF or in the Kindle, none of them are, at least from my point of view, like ameliorable to the kind of editing that I would like to do. Like I would want to be doing my editing in Markdown here in this file and then putting in whatever I have and automatically getting my nice syntax coloring and highlighting. So it may be completely the wrong thing for you, Richard, because maybe you would rather be working with a PDF or raw LaTeX or
no, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I just, the question that you're saying is like, well, what's the easiest way to make the transition? And it's, copying and pasting from the Kindle is annoying, as you know.
Sure.
And that's what I was.
Yeah, I mean, the one saving grace, I mean, LaTeX is a fine format for writing text that has to be typeset in print. It is a terrible format for working with almost anything else. The one saving grace of the way the book is authored is that each code example in the book is in its own file. So getting the code out is actually quite easy. And depending on what you want to do with the text, if the LaTeX markup is just too obtrusive, there's an intermediate HTML form, which is the basis of the Kindle form. It's very bad HTML, but at least it's that. Or there's a standard Unix utility called dtext that will strip all of the markup out and leave you with the raw text. So there's that.
Well, is there such a utility to sort of transform in a half-assed way the tech to Markdown? Someone I could imagine would have done that, like just to get italics and bold and that kind of stuff.
I mean, like I said, there is.
We can
generate an HTML version that has that in it, but the HTML has a lot of warts. But it may be easier to convert HTML to Markdown than LaTeX.
Right, I mean, even just copy and pasting, because the copy and paste from the Kindle always comes with this extra stuff. And I have a watermarked version of the PDF, but when I copy and paste from there, I hit the watermark. I mean, it's problematic, any of those things. So I will, I was going to leave this till later. Let me play around with it and see what we have and see what we're doing, and then I'll know more what I can help with, what I might need help with.
I've found a LaTeX to Markdown converter.
Yeah.
Okay, it's worth a try.
If it works. Yeah. Anyway, but so I think what you've got there today, Richard, is you've got the you can in principle view the source of the LaTeX of the particular chapter. You could possibly clone this repo and try and build locally. Like we can keep exploring.
Yeah. I mean,
you got the blessing from Armando to do so. So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, this just saved me a few minutes of looking around and finding out. And the fact that I have this is great. I know. I mean, I've more than enough on my plate to look at.
I will say I'm going to disagree with Sam on one thing. I would not necessarily advise that you try to actually build the textbook locally. Not because I have any objection to you doing it, but the number of things that have to be installed for it to work is intimidating.
it is a bit laborious, yeah.
It's intimidating. In fact, at some point, I wonder if we shouldn't set up a Cloud9 VM that has all that crap on it, whose only purpose in life is to predictably build the book.
Yeah, that would be.
Because every time I
What
update
is that,
Mac
like
OS,
automation for repeatability or something, whatever?
well, it's every time I automate, I update Mac OS, all of the Unix tools move around a little bit. And a lot of my make files and scripts and things like that sort of stop working. It's unfortunate, but I've been doing. I have like 5 or 6 different Cloud9 instances, and I've gotten to where each instance is basically an appliance, right? I use it for one thing. Like I have one that I only use for in-class demos. I have one that I only use for activities related to Mentiv, and I'm thinking I might set up one that I only use for building the book, because it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
All right.
Good use.
There we go.
Right.
So yeah, we've done an hour. Yeah, I guess. Of course, if I stop the broadcast, then suddenly people start saying really interesting things that I think we should talk about for the day. I guess what I will do, as a way of sort of gradually winding us up for the day, I'll stop the broadcast.